Hello and welcome to Dust to Deployment. I'm Dave and I'll be talking you through this summary battle report. In today's battle we see the inexorable Death Guard confront the upstart Tau in a 500 point combat patrol mission. My opponent today is a good friend of mine, Adam, and due to the current pandemic rules in place at the time of filming, I have my wonderful fiancée Bliss acting as an avatar and Adam will be playing via video chat. So let's have a look at the armies. I'll be taking command of the Tau for today's game. I'm taking a patrol detachment, and leading this detachment is a Tau commander in XV-86 Cold Star battlesuit, armed with 3 fusion blasters and a shield generator. His warlord trait is exemplar of the Montcar, and for a relic I have taken the prototype weapon system, cross-linked stabilizer jets. If you're interested in how I painted this model, or how I made the base, be sure to check out the build and paint video we have for this model. Moving on to my troops choice, I'm taking a unit of 8 breachers which includes a Chazui. They will be transported by the standard TY-7 Devilfish. Then in the heavy support slot we have a TX-7 Hammerhead gunship equipped with 2 burst cannons and an ion cannon. I've gone with a custom set for today's game, and for this I've chosen hybridized weaponry and upgunned. For secondaries I have chosen Slay the Warlord, Engage on all fronts and Abhor the Witch. My plan is to use the mobility of my units to my advantage. Death Guard are tough but they are slow. Hopefully I'll be able to get the first turn and do a suicide run with my commander to take out his warlord, which will net me a load of points off the bat and will help stop his units getting buffed. I think my main threats are his warlord and the plague marines. If I can shift those early on, then I should have an easier time capturing objective markers and running away with the primary. This will not be an easy game for the Tau. Anyway, that's enough of the Tau. I'll now hand over to Adam so he can take you through his army.
Hello, my name's Adam. Today I'll be taking 500 points of Death Guard against Dave and his Tau Empire. My Death Guard consists of a single detachment, which is a patrol detachment consisting of a Malignant Plaguecaster, who will be acting as my warlord today. His warlord trait will be Rotted Constitution, adding 1 to his toughness characteristic, and meaning that he can ignore AP-1 auto attacks that target him. His relic will be the Putrid Parapet, as this will give him an extra psychic power, and once per battle he'll be able to regain D3 wounds that he lost earlier in the game. His psychic powers will be Curse of the Leper. This is basically just to give me a little bit of anti-infantry if he gets surrounded or gets in too much danger. Hopefully it will pay off nicely against Tau. His second power will be Miasma of Pestilence, just to make my army a little bit more resilient and help me move up the field a bit, as I know Dave's going to have lots of firepower being Tau. And the last psychic power will be Putrescent Vitality. This will give my models, or a unit within 8 inches of it, +1 strength and +1 toughness. Again, just makes my guys a little bit more resilient. Hopefully it'll mean I can hold more objectives and just be a bit harder to shift up the field. My troops for the army will consist of 2 units, the first being a unit of 9 Plague Marines. 6 of the Plague Marines will be armed merely with bolt guns, 1 Plague Marine will be armed with a mace and axe, 1 Plague Marine will be armed with a Blight Launcher, and the Sergeant will have a Power Fist and a Plasma Gun. Now, I gave him this just because I feel like usually I'll be the last person to be removed will be the Sergeant. And it just gives him a little bit more hitting power, and hopefully he'll be the last remaining member of the squad. I expect these guys are going to come under quite a lot of fire, so hopefully they'll stick around for most of the game and be able to put the weaponry to use. My second troops choice will be a unit of 20 Pox Walkers. This is a nice cheap second troops choice, mainly just to hold objectives and be a bit of a nuisance to Dave if he does get too close, or if I can put some pressure on him with the unit. That'll be really great as well. Then being toughness 4 now and 2 attacks each, and hitting on 4s is a really nice little boost from this guys from the last book, and hopefully this will just help me just create a bit of pressure. My final unit for the army will be a Foul Blight Spawn. This guy I've taken because we're taking a smaller size game, the board's a little bit smaller, so hopefully a shorter range weapon will be a bit more of a threat, and if Dave does take any tanks, hopefully he'll be able to deal with them quite rapidly, because his gun is surprisingly good against tanks. He's also got a really nice Unholy Death's Head grenade, which is really good against blobs of infantry. And if Dave has taken them, hopefully I can deal with them quite easily using this guy. So the game plan for this game, being a new Death Guard player, I don't really have much of a game plan for it. Really, I'm going to try and push forward the Plague Marines, make them a bit of a target, but buff them up with the psychic powers, so they'll become a threat that Dave really can't ignore. Meanwhile, using my Poxwalkers in the back of the field to capture objectives. The Foul Blightspawn is really just there as more of a deterrent, but nothing can kind of go in my backfield or behind my lines without taking some really heavy damage. We'll see how it pays off.
And there we have it, both armies ready to fight it out. Let's have a look at the battlefield and today's mission. We are playing Outriders from the Warhammer 40k core rulebook. And here is a reminder of the secondaries that we have chosen. Here is the abandoned Imperial outpost that we'll be battling over today. There are 4 objective markers which are placed in the centre of each quarter, and the deployment zones are at opposite quarters with no models starting within 9 inches of the centre of the board. Adam won the first roll-off and so got to choose the deployment zones. We then take it in turns to deploy our armies 1 unit at a time. Here we have it, the lines of battle have been drawn and we're ready to go. The roll-off for who gets the first turn goes to Adam, so that's Death Guard turn 1 coming up. So turn 1 for the Death Guard, and we see the Plague Marines move forward protecting the Plague Caster and the Foul Blightspawn moving up behind in support. At the end of the movement phase, the Poxwalkers start the action Spread the Sickness. In the Psychic phase, the Plague Caster manages to cast Putrescent Vitality on the Poxwalkers and Miasma of Pestilence on the Plague Marines. The Plague Marines then fire at the Hammerhead gunship but fail to pierce its armour. And with that, Death Guard turn 1 is over. The Poxwalkers take 3 mortal wounds from Spread the Sickness but manage to shrug one of them. In the movement phase, the Devilfish moves up to the top objective whilst the Hammerhead shuffles forward, but making sure that they stay in range of the objective, and the commander shoots over to the other half of the board. The commander opens up the shooting phase and fires all 3 fusion blasters at the Plague Marines. He kills one and wounds another. Next, the Devilfish fires at the Plague Marines, but the shots bounce harmlessly off their armour. Finally, the Hammerhead opens up fire on the Plague Marines. I spend 1 CP on modulated weaponry to get the maximum shots with the ion cannon, and another on aerial spotters to get rerolls of 1 to hit. The Hammerhead manages to finish off the wounded Marine and kills another, but does overheat with the ion cannon and takes 1 mortal wound. At the end of Tau turn 1, the Plague Marines pass their morale check, and the Tau score 2 points for engage on all fronts. Battle round 2 and turn 2 for the Death Guard. The Poxwalkers advance onto the objective, and the Foul Blightspawn moves back to the home objective. Adam then spends 1 CP for Cloud of Flies to protect his Foul Blightspawn. Onto the Psychic phase, and the Plague Caster puts Miasma of Pestilence on the Plague Marines, and then performs Mental Interrogation on the commander, gaining 3 victory points. The Plague Marines open up a horrific volley on the Tau commander. After the Blight Launcher manages to take off 2 wounds, Adam spends 2 CP for Sickly Corrosion to get rerolled 1s to hit wound. The Plague Marines manage to finish off the commander with shots from an overcharged plasma gun which shatter the commander's shields, even with a CP reroll. In the charge phase, the Plague Marines attempt to charge the Hammerhead but don't manage to get in. The Poxwalkers lose 2 more of their number for Spread the Sickness, and that sees the end of turn 2 for the Death Guard. Turn 2 for the Tau, and they gain 10 command points due to holding 2 objective markers. In the movement phase, the Hammerhead backs away from the Plague Marines whilst keeping them in sight. The Breachers pile out of the Devilfish and round the corner, aiming at the Plague Marines, and the Devilfish edges up behind them in order to see the Plague Marines but keep within range of the objective. The Devilfish initiates the shooting phase by firing into the Plague Marines but fails to do any damage. Next, the Hammerhead fires at the Plague Marines, the burst cannons manage to chip off a wound, and the ion cannon finishes him off and takes another with him. Finally, the Breachers open fire on the Plague Marines, but not before I spend 1 CP for Pulse Onslaught in order to fire their weapons at full power at 15 inches. The Breacher team managed to take down another Plague Marine. And with that, the shooting phase is over, and so is the turn. The Plague Marines pass their morale check, and we move on to Death Guard turn 3. Going into turn 3, the Death Guard gain 10 victory points for holding 2 objectives. The Plague Marines and Plague Caster continue their march towards the Hammerhead, whilst the Foul Blightspawn moves forward to bring his Plague Sprayer in range of the Breacher team, and the Poxwalkers consolidate their position on the objective. In the Psychic phase, the Plague Caster puts Miasma of Pestilence and Putrescent Vitality on the Plague Marines. Moving into the shooting phase, and 3 Breachers are melted away by the Foul Blightspawn, and the Plague Marines take 2 wounds off the Hammerhead with an overcharged plasma gun. The Plague Marines then attempt to charge the Hammerhead, but fail their charge even after spending a CP to re-roll. In turn 3 for the Tau, at the end of the command phase they gain 10 victory points for holding 2 objective markers. In the movement phase, the Breachers move into cover behind the pipes from the Foul Blightspawn, and the Devilfish edges into the ruins in order to target the Plague Marines. The Hammerhead then moves back towards the edge of the battlefield whilst keeping within 3 inches of the objective marker. Starting off the shooting phase, the Devilfish fires at the Plague Marines but doesn't manage to wound them. The Hammerhead follows suit and chips a wound off with its burst cannons and finishes them off with the ion cannon. Next, the Breachers open fire at the exposed Plague Caster, spending 1 CP for Pulse Onslaught before they do so they can fire at maximum power. They manage to reduce him down to 1 wound. At the end of turn 3, the Tau score another 2 victory points for engage on all fronts. Turn 4 for the Death Guard, and they gain 10 more victory points for holding 2 objectives. In the movement phase, the Poxwalkers get further into cover, the Plague Marines and Plague Caster move towards the Hammerhead. The Plague Caster casts Curse of the Leper on the Breachers and uses his Putrid Periap to gain 2 wounds back. As the Breachers are within contagion range of the Foul Blightspawn, Adam only needs a 3 or more to kill each Breacher. Adam rolls and inflicts 6 mortal wounds, wiping out the unit. The Plague Caster then fails to cast Miasma of Pestilence on the Plague Marines. In the shooting phase, the Plague Marines fire the overcharged plasma gun and manage to take 2 wounds off the Hammerhead. The Plague Marines then manage to charge the Hammerhead with the help of a CP reroll. They then easily finish it off. At the start of turn 4 for the Tau, they gain 5 victory points for holding 1 objective. The Devilfish then detaches the drones and all 3 models move up towards the Plague Caster. Aerial Spotters is put on the Plague Caster for the reroll 1s, and then all 3 models fire at the Plague Caster, removing 1 wound. Not having killed the Plague Caster, they then charge in to see if they can finish him off in close combat, but fail to do any damage. The Plague Caster then attacks the Devilfish and takes off 2 wounds. Turn 5 for the Death Guard, and they get the full 15 victory points for holding 1, 2, and more than your opponent. The Plague Marines start the action Spread the Sickness on their newly claimed objective, and that's the only action in the movement phase. In the Psychic phase, the Plague Caster attempts to cast Putrescent Vitality on himself but perils, and so uses a CP reroll which still fails to cast but doesn't peril. The Plaguecaster then casts Smite on one of the drones, killing it, and then kills the other with Pestilential Fallout. In the assault phase, the Devilfish fails to cause any damage, but the Plaguecaster causes another 2 wounds. At the end of the turn, the Plague Marines take 3 mortal wounds for Spread the Sickness, which kills one and wounds the other. In the Tau final turn, the Devilfish fires at the Plaguecaster but fails to wound it, and in the assault phase the Plaguecaster and the Devilfish trade blows, leaving the Plaguecaster on 1 wound. And here are the final scores. This means a very convincing victory to the Death Guard. In summary for the Tau, I think I made a few bad choices early on which didn't help, namely having the commander out in the open, but failing to shift those Plague Marines in the first couple of turns really set the tone for the rest of the game. If I was to play it again, I think I'd have played it a bit more cagey, maybe try and get my breaches in earlier, and definitely hide my commander until the perfect opportunity presented itself. I'll now pass over to Adam for his summary on a game well played.
So, in summary for that game, I think I got lucky on a lot of my dice rolls, especially getting that Cold Star in 1 turn. That was a really lucky break, as he would have just annihilated my commander, a Foul Blight Spawn, Plague Marines with ease. So I really had to try and take him down as quickly as possible before Dave killed any of the heavy hitters in the Plague Marine unit. The Foul Blight Spawn I probably could have been a bit more aggressive with, as he just stayed at the back of the field. He didn't really push any objectives further up the field or do any damage to much of Dave's stuff. He did provide me with that nice contagion range on the breaches, so the Plaguecaster can get a Curse of the Leper off, which probably saved my ass. And I should have probably been a bit more aggressive with Hulk's Walkers, as they just kind of sat at the back of the field and held an objective. But they did score me a lot of points, so it might have been a good trade-off, especially considering they were so cheap in points. In summary, was a really good game, really enjoyed it. Hopefully we'll play some more in future.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that summary battle report. If you did, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. If you have any feedback or suggestions for future content, leave a comment below. If you want to help the channel, please share the video with any of your friends and family that you think might enjoy them, and feel free to join our Facebook group or check out our Instagram account. Stay safe and hope to see you again soon.